Hi, City Life class. I want to talk to you about your City Life assignment 2, describing social scenes in the soft city. So I'm going to give you some instructions, and then I'm going to give you a little bit that's actually not in the guidelines that I provided that I would like you to add towards the end. This is how sociology, the assignment is all about how sociologists can describe social scenes. And the purpose isn't to simply describe a social scene for the purposes of describing. The purpose is to describe a scene to highlight the central theme of what's going on in this human interaction. What is the meaning? What is this exact moment? What does this exact social scene say about the human condition? And so we're constantly describing scenes to highlight themes that say something important about human social life. And so the objective is this assignment is to utilize this concept of scene to vividly describe a research site in the soft city. Um, Obviously, you can do it in La Crosse or somewhere else. Um, but I ask you to use these 6 dimensions of describing the scene: container, props, actors, modifiers, duration, and progression of events. And so you'll be using the literary device of visual text to make your text and your words spring to life so that the reader can smell what you smell, they can see what you see, they can feel what you feel as well. And so you want to make that research scene come alive in all of its colors and all these human interactions and all the smells and the sights and the scenes. And then always hitting, what does this mean? What does this say about our world, about human social life? And so I ask you to select a research site in the city. It could be any type of public space, neighborhood. It could be a market. It could be any place where there's a buzz of human activity. A lot of things to observe and watch. Someplace interesting. Where you do it, up to you. So although I provided this for you, I'll go through these 6 dimensions real quick. One is the container. That's the fixed enclosure where human interactions take place. Um, you can consider the architecture, the layout, the overall structure of the chosen site. Right now, I'm in a coffee shop, and so this would be the container with I don't really know what you can see, but with the walls, with the art, and you have the people in the back making coffee, and then further in the back, washing dishes, and you have patrons sitting at the various tables. This is the container, the fixed enclosure where the social scene of a coffee shop comes to life in a city. And so you would describe then that container, this space, this finite space where all of the human interactions take place within this coffee shop, or wherever you might be. Then you have the props, identify and elaborate the physical objects that influence human interactions. This includes clothing, furnishing, the only objects integral to the scene. I'm in a coffee shop, so you can see the tables all around with the chairs and the art to make it appear like a kind of a smart coffee shop. It's a place where people go to read, to think about political economy, to philosophize, or to give lectures to students. And so these are the props that kind of give away that this is a smart place, that this is a coffee shop. This is a place where people talk about serious things in life. And so you want to think about how props influence the human interaction that's going on. Think about how you know when you're in a romantic restaurant versus one of those awful family restaurants. Um, those are different types of props. Or when you're in a Mexican restaurant or a Cuban restaurant or a New Orleans restaurant or an Italian restaurant. Arrabbiata, nice thing to order in an Italian restaurant, by the way. And so those props give away that you're having an authentic Italian experience or an authentic Cuban experience, an authentic New Orleans experience, an authentic Mexican experience. Actors, these are the people that are involved in the social scene. Some people, the major players, some people are in the peripheral, some people are the spectators of the research sites. And so highlight the roles that each person plays in the scene. Who are the leaders? Who are the spectators? Who's simply watching? You want to think, well, why are people here? What do they want? And always know that anytime anyone is in a social scene, they want something. Institutions have an I function. That is, they function for the individuals. So why are they there? What do they want? What are they trying to get out of this interaction? And so it's important to look at the actors that are in this social scene, and the kind of scripts and roles that they are playing. Then you have the modifiers. You'll explore the elements like lighting, sound, odor, texture, temperature, color, humidity, and discuss how these elements contribute to the emotional tone or mood of interactions. So if you're in a church, for example, the smell of incense kind of gives you a nostalgic feeling for some type of memory of going to Christmas night mass or something like that, right? Or when you walk into a bar and you can smell the bleach that's in it, that gives us a sense of what it may have been like the night before. So all of that, sounds, odors, sounds in a restaurant. I'm at a coffee shop right now. They're playing kind of contemporary jazz, or they're taking on different takes of some type of popular music, but in a singer-songwriter kind of approach. And so this affects the mood of the place. So again, pay attention to the lighting. If you're in a romantic restaurant, the lighting is going to be more dim as opposed to those family-friendly restaurants with the babies crying in the background, where it's bright lights and flashy everywhere. All this impacts the mood, the human interaction that's going on. So pay attention to the lighting, the sound, the odors and smells and textures and temperatures, colors, humidity. All of this impacts the overall environment within that container, within that social scene. And then talk about the duration of events, specify the objective time during which the interactions are occurring, and the anticipated time required for these interactions. And so important then to look at, what is the duration of all the events that are going on, as well as the progression. Like if you were going to do Oktoberfest, right? You look at the order of the events, preceding, following, or expected to follow the interactions, showcasing the relevance of the overall scene. Or if you've ever been to a dinner party, usually there's the exchange of ingenuine pleasantries. Oh, hello, how are you? Oh, how's your mom and them? Okay, very good, very good. Blah, 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 niceties. And then you have tea. And then after tea, you have, dinner. And then after dinner, you have, I don't know, an aperitif, or you have some type of coffee or espresso or whatever, right? And then you have to, think of a way to say goodbye, come up with an excuse to get out of there. And so all of these are the progression of events. And so again, important to pay attention to the visual text, the imagery, craft your description using that visual text to paint a picture of what's going on. Descriptive language, use strong action verbs, action sentences, or active sentences rather. So all of that is important. Now, to the end of this assignment, you should be able to discuss, well, what does this scene say about the human condition? What is the central theme that this scene is describing? Again, we write scenes to describe, or we describe scenes to highlight the central theme of what's going on, the most important thing that's going on, that says something important about the human condition. And one of the ways that I like to think about this is an old sociological concept that comes from structural functionalism. And here I'm talking about manifest versus latent functions. And so at the end of your paper, I want you to talk about the manifest versus the latent functions. This way I can tell who actually is watching this video and who's not. And that way, if you put it in your paper, I'll know you watched the video. So manifest functions are the stated, conscious, purposeful intent behind human behavior. In other words, it is why people say the things that they do, right? It is the reason people give for the motivations behind their actions. It's conscious, it's purposeful, it's intentful. They know. And so that's manifest functions, the obvious stated intent behind human behavior. And anybody can do that, right? I think that's pretty easy. That's basically what journalists do. And most journalists are pretty bad, maybe unless you're Glenn Greenwald or someone like that, or Alex Mate or Aaron Mate or Max Blumenthal or something like that. Most journalists just take what somebody says, the manifest function of what they say, and they just report that in a very lazy way. And so bad sociologists do that as well. And unfortunately, there's a lot of those too. Really, though, what sociologists are most concerned with, at least the good ones, is the latent function behind human behavior. In other words, what is really going on behind the manifest, right? Behind the obvious, stated, purposeful intent behind human behavior. And so the latent function, then, to describe it, would be the unconscious, hidden, underlying motivations behind human behavior. It's not that people are intentfully doing this or purposefully, but it is the main, again, the hidden, deeper meaning or motivation behind human behavior. And one good example of this was the Hopi Indians. Um, and of course, this happened during a manifest destiny where you had various tribes of the Hopi Indians that they weren't really united, but they were all facing a common threat. And that threat was, of course, a westward expansionism based upon the American idea of manifest destiny, that the United States had the God-given right to spread from sea to shining sea by any means necessary, whether that means enslaving human beings, stealing them from Africa and then enslaving them, or brutalizing the Native American populations in one of the worst forms of genocide that's ever occurred in human history. This was not only an existential threat, but it was a threat to, their entire existence. In other words, they were being snuffed out of existence because of European expansion to the Pacific Ocean. And so they had a common enemy. They had a threat, but the tribes were not united together. And so they had to find a way to unite the tribes together. And so they came up or developed something called the rain dance. And of course, if you were a journalist or an anthropologist or a sociologist, and you went up to a member of the Hopi Indians and you said, "Excuse me, why are you conducting this rain dance?" They would probably say, "Well, stupid, to make rain," right? That's the manifest function. We're not theologians. We don't know whether or not a rain dance actually contributes to the production of rain or not. Instead, we're sociologists. So our job is not to understand so much the manifest function, if it works or not, but rather, what is the latent, hidden, underlying meaning or motivation behind this behavior? Any guesses? Any guesses? Well, if you guessed that it was a ritual to unite the tribes together so that they can unify and that they can build a sense of solidarity and develop a strong sense of social consciousness, of social cohesion, a collective consciousness that allows them to unite together and face a common threat that's trying to extinguish their existence, then we begin to make sense of the function of this social scene, of the rain dance, of this event, of this ritual. And without this ritual, without this ritual that creates bonding and solidarity and a strong sense of a collective consciousness, they would have never made it. And so your job as sociologists is always to move beyond the manifest function of human behavior and to find out the latent function behind our social scenes. And that is your task for this assignment. Thank you.